Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Tonight, the United States has a new president. Declaring that democracy has prevailed, Joseph R. Biden Jr. took the oath of office today as the nation's 46th commander-in-chief, promising to help unite a country deeply divided and suffering from a deadly pandemic. Then, in the shadow of the U.S. Capitol and overshadowed by the toll of the coronavirus, the 78-year-old called on all Americans to help write the next great chapter in the history of the United States. And while today's scaled-back and highly secured ceremony lacked some of the grandeur of past inaugurations, it was no less groundbreaking. Tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris becomes the highest-ranking woman in the history of American government, as well as the first Black American and first Asian American to hold that office. After today's swearing in, the new president walked home with his family. And tonight, in a newly redecorated Oval Office, he's already getting down to business, signing a series of sweeping executive actions that roll back his predecessor's policies and recommit America to being part of the global community. It has been a day of history that is still unfolding as we come on the air, and our team is standing by to cover it all. CBS's chief White House correspondent, Nancy Cordes, is going to lead off our coverage tonight from her new post near the White House. Good evening, Nancy.
Good evening, Nora. Well, after decades of working at and visiting the White House, tonight Joseph R. Biden can call it home. Today, he made an appeal to those who backed him and those who didn't, urging them to hear him out, to take the measure of them, asking them to give him a chance to be a president for all Americans.
We can see each other not as adversaries, but as neighbors.
President Joe Biden struck one simple theme in his 21-minute inaugural address: unity.
My whole soul is in this, bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation. And I ask every American to join me in this cause. With unity, we can do great things, important things. We can right wrongs. We can put people to work in good jobs. We can teach our children in safe schools.
He spoke from the spot that was recently overrun by pro-Trump rioters. He was candid about the divisions confronting him as he takes office.
We must end this uncivil war that pits red against blue, rural versus urban, conservative versus liberal. And I promise you, I will fight as hard for those who did not support me as for those who did.
That message about mending fences was woven throughout the day. Amazing grace. In the morning, President Biden invited leaders from both parties to attend Mass with him. In the afternoon, he laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier with three of his predecessors, Presidents Clinton, Bush, and Obama. President Trump's absence went unmentioned, but his vice president, Mike Pence, looked on as Mr. Biden sought to turn the page on the past 4 years.
And we must reject the culture in which facts themselves are manipulated and even manufactured. Politics doesn't have to be a raging fire, destroying everything in its path.
Inaugurals normally draw hundreds of thousands to the National Mall. Today, it was filled not with people, but with flags. The intimate setup, a concession to the COVID pandemic that has already claimed 400,000 American lives.
Protect and defend.
Mr. Biden was sworn in on a 130-year-old family Bible.
So help me God.
He and his vice president, Kamala Harris, were greeted at the Capitol by Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman, who held a violent mob at bay 2 weeks ago, long enough for senators to be whisked to safety.
So help me God.
So help me God. The ceremony embraced the nation's legacy as a melting pot. One day after the outgoing Secretary of State insisted multiculturalism is not who America is.
But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated.
Afterwards, the nation's first female vice president shared a friendly word with her predecessor, their first real conversation since the election, as control of the so-called nuclear football changed hands from the 45th president to the 46th.
As part of a scaled-down inaugural parade, President Biden and the First Lady walked part of the route, Pennsylvania Avenue lined mostly with police. Mr. Biden is taking office more than 30 years after his first White House bid in 1987. At 78, he is the oldest president ever inaugurated and arguably the most experienced, with 36 years as Delaware senator and 8 years as VP.
The world is watching all of us today. So here's my message to those beyond our borders. America has been tested, and we've come out stronger for it. May God bless America, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, America.
There will be no inaugural balls tonight, another change necessitated by COVID. Instead, viewers at home will be treated to a primetime virtual concert originating from the Lincoln Memorial, featuring performances by Bruce Springsteen, John Legend, and Lin-Manuel Miranda. Nora?
Nancy Cordes, thank you.